Dead seeds. 12 types. 48 hours. One $3 bottle from the pharmacy. Some of them sprouted in 24 hours. Some took 48. A few needed longer. But every single one of them responded. And the reason comes down to one thing most gardening videos get completely wrong. There's a video about this with over 2 million views. Half the comments say it changed their garden forever. The other half say every seed they tried died. Same video, same bottle, same instructions. Two completely different results. Here's why. The concentration that saves your tomatoes will destroy your cucumbers. The soak time that brings old pepper seeds back to life will rot your beans. This isn't about hydrogen peroxide not working. It's about one formula never being right for every seed. 12 seed types: tomato, pepper, cucumber, bean, carrot, lettuce, corn, pea, squash, sunflower, watermelon, and zinnia. If you're growing any of these, this chart is for you. Let's go through each one. I'll give you a chart at the end you can screenshot, but first, you need to understand why the same bottle gives two completely different results. Hydrogen peroxide works because it delivers oxygen directly to the embryo, the signal a dormant seed needs to shift into growth mode. It also keeps the soaking water oxygenated the entire time, so the seed never runs out of air and starts fermenting the way it does in plain water. When oxygen drops too low, sensitive seeds can shift toward fermentation instead of clean germination, and that process can damage the embryo from the inside. That is one reason some overnight water soaks end with slimy dead seeds by morning. But here's the part that matters most. At low concentrations, it stimulates. At high concentrations, it destroys the same cell membranes you're trying to protect. And that threshold is different for every seed on this list. Now, there's one number that's been copied wrong across the entire internet, and it's the number sitting behind most of the failures you've seen in those comments. A study published in HortScience tested hydrogen peroxide on aged corn seeds with near-zero germination rates. The results were dramatic. Germination jumped nearly 3 times the water control. But somewhere between the lab and the internet, one number got changed. The study used a concentration of 0.15%. By the time it reached most gardening websites, and at least one video, with 2 million views, that number had become 15%. 1 decimal point. 100 times stronger. At 0.15%, hydrogen peroxide acts as a biological oxygen source that gently wakes up a dormant embryo. At 15%, it's an industrial oxidizer that destroys everything it touches. Those are not the same thing. There are two completely different reasons to use this chemical on seeds, and they require opposite approaches. Surface sterilization. Kill fungal spores on the outside. Higher concentration, short time. Around 3%, 15 to 30 minutes, rinse immediately. Physiological priming. Deliver oxygen to the embryo inside. Very low concentration, long time. Around 0.15%, 12 to 24 hours. Using the surface sterilization approach when you need priming is like using a pressure washer to water a seedling. The tool is real, the application is wrong. That's the framework. Now let's use it. I'm going through all 12 seeds using a simple system. Green means the standard formula works fine. Soak it, rinse it, plant it. Yellow means it works, but you need to adjust the concentration or the time. Red means the standard method doesn't just fail, it actively damages the seed. Let's start with the good news. These 4 are the most forgiving seeds on this list. They all tolerate short exposure well, but the concentration and goal are slightly different for each one. So let me walk through them. Seed number 1, tomato. Tomatoes are grown in 86% of American home gardens, and the most common seed people test this on first. Wrong method. Soaking too long or at too high a concentration. Thinking more is better. Correct method. 1% solution. 15 to 20 minutes that cuts germination from 5 to 10 days down to 2 to 4. Warning. If you're using saved seeds and worried about disease, bump up to 3%, but keep it under 20 minutes. That's sterilization. Not priming, different goal, still safe for tomatoes. Seed number 2, sunflower. Sunflower seeds carry a high fungal load on their thick husks, especially seeds from bird feeders or saved from the garden. Wrong method. Skipping treatment and wondering why seedlings collapse early. Correct method. 0.36% solution. 15 minutes before planting clears the fungal load before it attacks the emerging root. Warning. Nothing major here. Sunflower is the lowest risk seed on this list. If you're new to this, start here. Seed number 3. Watermelon. Watermelon shares a hard outer coat with cucumber, but unlike cucumber, it handles the standard soak fine. Wrong method. Treating watermelon like cucumber and using a complicated approach. Correct method. 1% solution, 15 to 30 minutes. Rinse, plant. Warning. The most common reason watermelon fails isn't hydrogen peroxide, it's soil temperature. These seeds need consistent warmth above 70 degrees Fahrenheit. If you treated the seeds and still got nothing, check temperature before anything else. Seed number 4. Zinnia. Zinnia is the one case where the higher concentration is actually right, not for speed, but for survival. Wrong method. Standard 1% soak, which isn't strong enough to kill the real problem. Correct method. 3%. For 30 minutes. This is surface sterilization, not priming. Warning. If your zinnias keep collapsing overnight after sprouting, that's Alternaria zinniae, a fungal pathogen living directly on the seed coat. This soak kills it before it ever gets the chance. Those are your 4 green seeds. If any of those are in your seed drawer right now, you can treat them tonight, but these are the easy ones. The next group is where most gardeners quietly damage their seeds without realizing it. These 4 seeds are yellow. The standard formula won't kill them outright, but it's quietly working against you every time you use it. The seeds might germinate, the plants might come up, but the roots will be weaker, the seedlings more fragile, and the failure rate higher than it should be. And you'll never know why, because everything looked fine going in. The fix for all 4 is the same direction, lower concentration, longer time. Let me show you what that means for each one. Seed 5, bean. Wrong method. 1% to 3% soak for 30 to 60 minutes, what most tutorials recommend for hard-coated seeds. The embryo absorbs that stress through the seed coat. You may see a root appear, then watch it turn brown and stop 2 days later. That's not a bad seed. That's damage from the soak. Correct method. 0.17%. Soak 12 hours at room temperature. That's 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide into 17 parts filtered water. A 2025 study in the journal Plants confirmed this germination speed increased nearly 49% for mung bean, 21% for cowpea, 18% for red bean at exactly this concentration. Warning: soak overnight, rinse in the morning, plant the same day. Don't extend beyond 12 hours. Seed 6P. Wrong method. Using hydrogen peroxide to speed up germination. Peas don't actually need it. At 1%, pea embryos absorb enough oxidative stress in 30 minutes to compromise root development, even if the seed looks fine on the surface. Correct method. If you need surface sterilization only, 0.36% for 15 minutes maximum, then rinse. Warning: if your peas are failing, check soil temperature, moisture, and planting depth first. Those 3 fix more pea problems than any chemical treatment. Seed 7. Summer squash. Wrong method. Strong, short soak squash looks tough enough to handle it, but root development suffers quietly. Research on the cucurbit family shows a clear pattern: higher concentration, shorter root; lower concentration, longer root. The seed germinates either way, but the plant coming out of a 0.15% treatment has measurably longer, stronger roots than one from a 1% treatment. In the first week, root vigor determines everything. Correct method: 0.15%, 1 part 3%. Hydrogen peroxide into 19 parts, filtered water, soak 24 hours. Warning: it sounds slow, but you're not just germinating a seed. You're building the root system that carries the plant through the entire season. Seed 8. Corn. Wrong method. 3% short soak. This is where the decimal point mistake does the most damage. At 3%, root length averages under 7 millimeters. Correct method: 0.15%, 24 hours, 1 teaspoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide in 2 cups filtered water. At this concentration, root length averages 34 millimeters. Same seed, same bottle. The difference is visible with your eyes when you pull them out. Warning: corn is highly vulnerable to oxygen deprivation during germination. The low concentration long soak is not optional here, it's the entire point. Those are the 4 yellow seeds. Less concentration, more time, better results. Not more aggressive, more precise. If you're growing any of these this season, and you've been using the 1% formula, tell me in the comments. I want to know how many people this has affected. And now we get to the dangerous group, not because hydrogen peroxide is useless, but because soaking itself becomes the problem. These last 4 seeds are red. And red doesn't mean dangerous, it means the entire approach changes. Not just the concentration, not just the time, the method itself. For the green and yellow seeds, soaking in liquid was always part of the answer. For these 4, soaking in liquid is often the problem. Each one has a specific biological reason why, and once you understand it, you'll never go back to the standard approach. Seed number 9, lettuce. Wrong method. Any form of submersion, not in water, not in hydrogen peroxide, not in anything. 2 things happen when you submerge lettuce seeds. They clump into an inseparable mass, impossible to space evenly, and the embryo is cut off from oxygen almost immediately. The fermentation problem from plain water? It happens anyway, because the seed is surrounded by liquid. Correct method, misting only. Lay seeds on a damp coffee filter, mist with 0.03% to 0.1%. Solution, about a quarter teaspoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide in a full cup of water. Fold into a zip bag. Warm, dark spot. Check after 24 hours. Transfer with a damp toothpick. Warning, never soak. The clumping alone will ruin your spacing before germination chemistry even becomes relevant. Seed number 10, carrot. Wrong method. Direct sowing without pre-sprouting, then hoping surface moisture holds for 3 weeks. Carrot germination normally takes 14 to 21 days of continuous surface moisture. One dry afternoon kills the emerging radical, and you won't know until 2 weeks later when you find nothing. Correct method. Paper towel pre-sprout, not submersion. Spray a coffee filter with 0.3% to 0.5% solution, about 1 teaspoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide in a cup of water. Single layer of seeds, fold, bag, warm, dark spot. In 2 days, white threads appear. Transfer one at a time with a damp toothpick, root down, barely covered. Warning, hydrogen peroxide collapses the timeline from 3 weeks to 2 to 3 days. That's shrinking the danger window by 90%. Wet carrot seeds stick to everything. Handle carefully. Seed number 11, cucumber. Wrong method. Overnight soak at any concentration. Multiple growers have documented complete seed death from extended soaking. The cucumber embryo suffocates. Correct method depends entirely on your goal. For sterilization, 3% for no more than 30 minutes. Rinse immediately. Studies confirm 100% pathogen elimination, with 95% germination rate maintained. For germination speed on healthy seeds, skip hydrogen peroxide entirely. The optimal stimulation concentration is so low, it's unmeasurable. With kitchen tools, your time is better spent getting soil temperature above 65 degrees Fahrenheit and keeping moisture consistent. Warning, short soak to clean, no soak to grow. Those are your only 2 options. Seed number 12, pepper. Wrong method. Standard 1% short soak fails peppers for a specific reason. The embryo needs 2 things simultaneously: a signal to wake up and immediate fuel to begin growing. Hydrogen peroxide provides the signal. It cannot provide the fuel. Correct method. 0.15% plus a quarter teaspoon of plain white sugar. 1 tablespoon of 3% pharmacy hydrogen peroxide in 190 milliliters of filtered water gives you 0.15%. The sugar is not optional, it's the caloric bridge that carries the embryo from dormancy to active growth. Soak 24 to 48 hours, dark and warm. Warning, the U.S. Federal Seed Act sets the minimum germination floor for pepper at 55%. Companies can legally sell you a packet where nearly half never sprout. This formula has been documented to revive pepper seeds stored for 30 years. Not every seed recovers, but the ones with any life left will respond. Those are your 4 red seeds. Different methods, specific reasons, consistent results when you follow them. And now one last category, where the entire color system breaks. Old seeds, the packet at the back of the drawer you've been meaning to throw away. The heirloom variety you can't find anymore. The seeds saved from a grandparent's garden. Old seeds don't die. All at once they fade. A seed that was 90% viable 5 years ago might be down to 10% today. Not dead. Diminished. At the right concentration, hydrogen peroxide doesn't just signal germination, it helps a damaged seed repair itself enough to function. A study on cannabis seeds over 5 years old found germination recovered from under 10% to 50% after a 1% hydrogen peroxide soak. A separate study on deteriorated corn seeds went from 48% to nearly 70% for all old seeds, regardless of type. 1%, 12 to 24 hours in the dark. Rinse, plant immediately. Hydrogen peroxide cannot bring back a dead embryo, but it can help seeds with just enough life left recover and germinate. Try this before you throw them away. The bottle costs $3. The seeds cost you nothing. They're not dead. They're waiting. Before you mix anything, 4 quick rules. Use only regular 3% pharmacy hydrogen peroxide, not concentrated food-grade versions. Always rinse seeds after treatment, unless you're using the misting method. Never reuse the soaking liquid. And if your seeds are professionally coated or treated, skip the chemical treatment entirely. Screenshot this, or save the video. This is the chart that the original $3 tutorial never gave you. Green seeds, low risk, short exposure. Tomato and watermelon, 1% for 15 to 30 minutes. Sunflower, 0.3, 6% for 15 minutes. Zinnia, 3% for 30 minutes because the goal is sterilization, not priming. Rinse and plant immediately for all 4. Yellow seeds, be careful. Bean, squash, and corn need lower concentration and longer time. Around 0.15% to 0.17%, 12 to 24 hours. Rinse in the morning, plant the same day. Peas are the exception. Use 0.36% for 15 minutes only if you need surface sterilization, or skip hydrogen peroxide entirely if your soil conditions are right. Red seeds, different method entirely. Lettuce and carrot. No submersion, ever. Mist onto a damp coffee filter or paper towel, fold into a zip bag. Check after 24 to 48 hours. Cucumber. 3% for 30 minutes maximum if you need sterilization. Rinse immediately. Skip the soak if your seeds are fresh and healthy. Pepper, 0.15% plus a quarter teaspoon of white sugar, 24 to 48 hours, dark and warm. Old seeds, any color, any type. 1 part 3% hydrogen peroxide to 2 parts water. That's 1%. Soak 12 to 24 hours in the dark, rinse, plant immediately. This is the one case where the viral formula is actually right. That's the full picture. Hydrogen peroxide works. The science behind it is real, and it's been confirmed by multiple peer-reviewed studies. But it works differently depending on what you're holding in your hand, and treating every seed the same way is the reason half the comments on that 2 million view video are from people watching their seeds die. The viral video gave you the tool. This video gave you the manual. You now have the chart. You have the concentrations. You have the methods. What you do with it is up to you. One last question before you go: which seed on this list surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments. I'm going to pin the most interesting answer. And if you tried the wrong formula on any of these and want to know how to salvage what's left, ask me down there. I read everything. If this video changed the way you think about germination, share it with someone who's been staring at an empty seed tray wondering what went wrong. Because now they'll know.